Welcome to this episode of the Aquarist Edge, a podcast for home aquarists just like you. Learn more about how to keep a thriving aquarium and discover ideas and tips to give your aquarium the edge. And now, over to our host, Arthur Preston.
Here in Cape Town, on the southern tip of Africa, in the southern hemisphere, we are seeing the ending of our winter time. Although I have to say that at the moment, winter seems to be hanging on by its very fingernails, keeping the warmer temperatures of spring at bay. And we're expecting a week next week full of rain, cold, driving Cape rain. This area, this part of the world is known as the Cape of Storms for good reason, and we'll see what comes our way. But it would be nice to see the weather become a bit warmer. And for those of you who are living in the northern hemisphere, you, of course, are heading out of your summer season and into autumn, or as our North American friends say, heading into fall. And you, of course, are getting into colder weather at the moment. Now, what about those creatures who inhabit our aquariums? Are they also affected by temperature? Is it possible, in fact, to have a fish tank in your home without a heater and, dare I say, even without a filter? Is that, in fact, possible? Why do some fish tolerate cooler temperatures or fluctuating temperatures? How could we have an aquarium that perhaps doesn't have a heater and doesn't have a goldfish? Well, let's look at that today, and we're going to dig into this topic a little bit, and hopefully by the end of it, you will have some idea of what a cold water aquarium is all about, how a filterless aquarium can work, and how you can make that into a centerpiece of your home as well. Let's start off then with the idea of fish and heat. Fish are ectothermic, and that means that their metabolism, digestion, and even their immune system speeds up or slows down depending on water temperature. If the water is too cold for their natural range, their immune system weakens, digestion slows, and they become vulnerable to parasites and bacterial infections. Too warm, and oxygen levels will drop, leaving them gasping at the surface. So when we say that this or that fish can live without a heater, what we're actually saying is that fish has evolved in a habitat where water naturally fluctuates across a wide range of temperatures, and it has the physiology to cope. Let's take zebra danios, for example. They originate from the Ganges River Basin, where temperatures can swing dramatically between seasons, 16 degrees Celsius in winter, up to 28 degrees Celsius in summer. Now, their bodies have adapted to slow their metabolism during the cooler months and ramp up breeding when it warms, and that's why they're so robust in unheated tanks. Now, if you compare that to neon tetras, which come from blackwater streams of the Amazon, those waters are shaded, slow-moving, and consistently warm. They seldom go below 24 degrees Celsius. And a neon's metabolism is tuned for stability, so without a heater, they get stressed, sick, and often die. And so it's not about asking, do I need a heater? It's about matching species to the environment you can realistically provide. What about the idea of living without a filter? When people hear the term filterless tank, they often imagine a bowl of stagnant, smelly water. But remember, filtration is a process, not a machine. In nature, streams and ponds don't have electric pumps, they have ecosystems. Waste breaks down thanks to microorganisms, plants, and water movement. In the aquarium, we can replicate these conditions. Aquarist Diana Walstead, someone who I've quoted on this podcast before, and the author of The Ecology of the Planted Aquarium, demonstrated how a heavily planted tank with a nutrient-rich soil base and modest fish load can maintain itself with minimal or no powered filtration. The key difference, of course, is balance. A filterless tank demands restraint, fewer fish, slower feeding, and more reliance on plant and regular maintenance. It is possible, but you and me, as the aquarist, become part of the filter system. Now, there are many different species of fish that will thrive without a heater or a filter, and we could spend some time going into that in this podcast. I'm not going to do that because we could seriously extend the length of this episode. But that will be a topic of a future podcast episode, and I would urge you to watch out for that. But there are some that are well known to us. Fish such as the white cloud mountain minnows, the zebra danios, rosy barbs, even paradise fish, or, yes, surprisingly, even the betta fish. A betta normally prefers warmer water, but in the short term, they can tolerate around 20 degrees centigrade. Of course, there's always the goldfish, and there are unusual fish such as the weatherloach and bitterlings that are native to Europe and thrive in ponds and heated tanks. So there are others as well. I'm sitting here looking at a tank on my desk. As I glance across to my right, and I can see it is a tank of endlers, wild endlers. The tank consists of those fish plus several Neocaridina shrimp, 2 nearite snails, and lots of plants. And that's a filterless and an unheated tank. And it's thriving. And it's really fun to look at. It's a piece of quiet paradise here on the tank, on the desk rather, and it's enjoyable to watch and see that ecosystem thrive. So keep an eye out for that new podcast episode. I certainly am going to put together an episode in the next few weeks on which fish and animals you can keep in an unheated tank. So keep your eyes open for that one. So how do you go about designing one of these cold water systems or filterless unheated tanks? I'm going to give you 6 easy steps. Number 1, choose the right location. You need to avoid windows to prevent wild temperature swings. You've got to keep the tank in a climate-stable room. Step 2 is to know that your substrate matters. Sand and gravel support bacteria, and soil-based substrates provide nutrients for the plants. Step 3 is to plant heavily. Use fast growers such as hornwort, water wisteria, or elodia. Use hardy anchor plants such as Java fern, Anubias, and cryptocorin. Don't be afraid of using floating plants. These absorb excess nutrients and provide shade. Step 4 is to stock lightly. Don't be tempted to put lots of animals into your tank. You need to make sure that you are lightly stocked in a tank such as this. It keeps the balance of the ecosystem. Number 5 is to make sure that you don't neglect your manual maintenance. Make sure that you're doing a weekly 25 to 30% water change, and don't disturb it too much. You want to leave the beneficial bacteria intact. Step 6 is to remember that even without filters, surface agitation is key. A simple air stone or even angling the water return from your bucket during water changes helps the oxygen exchange. One little caveat here is to remember not to overfeed. It's a standard practice I think we need to know as aquarists, but particularly in a filterless tank. Feeding once a day is absolutely fine. You want to make sure that your tank stays balanced, and overfeeding will create ammonia spikes. That is going to upset the balance in your tank. An interesting aside is to remember that before the 1950s, most aquariums ran without filters or heaters. Very often it was simply a metal frame glass box. No filter, no heater, just some gravel, some easy growing, quick growing plants, and sunlight from the window. Perhaps a water change once a week, and the aquarium would thrive. It's quite fun going to look at old Aquarist books, going to your local second-hand bookstore, scour around and see if you can find a fish keeping manual from the 1920s or 30s or 40s, and you will find some interesting information there about how to run a filterless or heaterless tank. Something that is old time is new about managing the ecosystems with all the fancy technology that we have today. I want to now begin to close this episode by giving you 5 golden rules for success. If you're going to go heater-free or filter-free, these 5 golden rules will certainly help you. Number 1, choose the right species. Number 2, stock lightly. Number 3, feed sparingly. Number 4, plant heavily. And number 5, maintain regularly. Let me go over those one more time. 5 golden rules for success in a heaterless and filterless tank. Number 1, choose the right species. Number 2, stock lightly. Number 3, feed sparingly. Number 4, plant heavily. And number 5, maintain regularly. If you follow these 5 golden rules, you can keep fish thriving in setups that many people think are impossible. So let's wrap it up. Yes, fish can live without a heater and some can live without a filter. But it's not about cutting corners. It's about understanding biology, working with nature and becoming part of the aquarium's life support system yourself. Remember that some species are naturally tolerant of cooler, fluctuating water. Natural filtration works, but only with patience, restraint, and the support of plants. Problems such as algae, cloudiness, or oxygen shortages are part of this journey. They're not signs of failure, just reminders to rebalance your aquarium. I'd love to hear your experiences of filterless and heaterless tanks, so please feel free to drop me a message on admin@artfishroom.co.za or to leave a comment if you're listening to this on YouTube or in the review section of your favorite podcast app, where I would ask you please to rate and review the podcast as well. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please go ahead and share this with others. It certainly helps people discover the podcast. Next week's topic will be about beginner aquarium mistakes that cost fish their lives. It sounds a little dramatic, but it is a big topic, particularly for those who are starting out in this hobby. Remind people who are new to the hobby to watch out for next week's episode. But until then, keep learning, keep discovering, and keep enjoying this amazing hobby. Bye for now.
That's it for this episode of the Aquarist Edge. Please consider subscribing to this podcast so that you don't miss further episodes. We would love it if you would also rate and review the podcast, as this helps make it visible to others. Until next time, keep learning and discovering, and keep finding your Aquarist Edge in this captivating and fascinating hobby.